Awesome. Cool. Well, obviously, it's exciting for me to be able to sit here and have a chat to you, being the player that you are, playing for Adelaide United. And we've got a lot of young, keen footballers who, obviously follow us and they're in our client base and our network. So I think this is a good opportunity for them to get some insight towards football in general, but also hear perhaps a bit of your backstory, mate. So if you'd like to maybe start with some of your backstory, I think that'd be really cool if you can share some stuff with us.
Yeah, okay. So, I guess, yeah, as you said, currently I'll just start where I'm at now. I'm 24 years old playing for Adelaide United, but my football journey, I guess, started when I was, 5 years old, started playing school football or soccer. That was my first real, I guess, introduction into it. And I played club AFL and school soccer for the next 5 years, up until I was about 10 years old. And then I joined Adelaide City Football Club for the under 11s team. And that was, I guess, a decision made more so from my dad. He said he thinks it's a smarter move to go to football now, as to you need to learn the basic skills, which are a lot harder to learn, rather than AFL. You can always come back to, and that's where that I guess change, or why that change happened. And looking back now, it was a pretty smart decision, obviously. Um, and then I went and played from Adelaide City from under 11s through to I played reserves and trained with the first team until I was would have been about 14 years old. So just played in my own age group until I was 14, and then I played up a year in the under 16s, and that was the year where things kind of changed quite rapidly. So I trialled out for all the state teams in years previously gone by, and never made them. I think I was good enough. Obviously, the coaches didn't think so. And it's probably also a process of some kids don't perform well at trials if they're not comfortable. And maybe I was one of those kids. I couldn't tell you. I always thought I was good enough to make it, but the coaches didn't see enough. And then in under 15s, or sorry, when I was 14 years old and I was playing under 16s, I went, didn't make the state team again, and then got called in with a few injuries. Made the state team and started training with them, and that was probably the first time I'd ever trained more than twice in a week.
Yeah, wow.
And yeah, went from training twice a week with someone's dad at Adelaide City to the state team, and then played a couple of games with the under 17s, and then the under 19s and 23s, all in a short space of about a month, just because I played well in the under 17s, and the under 19s coach needed some players, and played for them. And then that same day I played for the 19s. They asked me to sit on the bench for the reserve team. So it was all a bit crazy for me. And then the next day after that, I got a call from Damien Murray, who was the coach at Adelaide City, first team at the time. And he said, "Oh, I want you to come and train with the first team." So I was, yeah, a little bit,
Wow. 0 to 1,000
I
real
guess,
quick.
yeah. Yeah, yeah, exactly. So, I was pretty excited about that. And he was a really nice guy, and picked me up for training every day, and started training with them. And then Tony Vidmar took over as the state coach from Anton, who was the state coach, and then had Tony Vidmar, and from there again it went quite crazy. So I went from playing um, and training obviously with the state team, got into SASI, which is the NTC program now, and then went away for the NTC Challenge all in the same year. Sorry, at the end of the start of the next year, which was January, and then got selected to go to the AIS and take a scholarship there. So I guess in the space of what would it have been, maybe 6 months, I reckon I went from training twice a week to packing my bags as a 15-year-old to move to Canberra. So yeah, it was all pretty crazy and all really exciting. And I was lucky that I had my best mate Ben Gruccio also coming to the AIS. We both went to the same school, so that probably made the transition a little bit easier. But when you're kids, you don't really care. You're just excited, and a new opportunity comes up, and you want to go and take it. And then I went to the AIS, and loved it there, and then made the under 17 Australia team. Probably 6 months after that, we went to Mexico, which was the first time I'd ever been overseas, and played against Denmark, Brazil, and Ivory Coast, which was an unbelievable experience. And probably my one of my best moments in my career, and then went back to the AIS for another, I think it was 9 months, before trialing with Melbourne Heart as a 16-year-old, and getting signed by John Aloisi. And that was probably my, I guess, the junior days going into that, being a bit more serious, into now my first professional contract at Melbourne Heart. So I signed the 1-year youth with 2-year professional deal. So I was 16, about 16 and 9 months when I signed that. And again, it was all really exciting, but moving again as a young kid, and moving into an apartment with another player was all an experience. Not, having someone cook for you like at the AIS, it was all done for you, and not having my license, so I obviously had to figure out how to get to training, and it was all again, I guess, a crazy time, but it was what I wanted to do, and pursue my dream of being a footballer. And then I spent probably the next, what was it, four seasons with Melbourne Heart, which then turned into Melbourne City, and then I was on and off with all the camps, with the under 19s, 20s, 23s, different age groups, playing up a couple of years, and Olympic qualifiers, our World Cup qualifiers, and that was something that was again unbelievable for myself, and I think it probably hindered my club aspirations, as a lot of the coaches, especially one of the coaches at Melbourne City, he didn't like when I went away, and that was quite frustrating. But that was something that he viewed when you went away with the national team for 3 or 4 weeks and you go to the bottom of the pile. And then from there I signed for Adelaide United. Just felt like it was a better place to go and get some regular minutes, and did really well for the back end of 15-16 season, and won the A-League Championship with Adelaide, and then got called into the Socceroos camp against England, which was probably those 3 months there of winning all those games with Adelaide, going to the Socceroos and seeing, unfortunately I didn't play, but seeing those players up close, and just an unbelievable experience. So that's kind of what happened with that next stage. And then I went and signed in Holland for a year, and it didn't work out too well. And since then I've kind of bounced around a little bit, and trying to find that same level of form and, I guess, consistency. And I've went on loan for Melbourne City, then signed for Brisbane, got injured for a whole year. And then recently just signed again back for Adelaide, and feeling the best I've ever felt physically since, I guess, those early days, which is really good. And just disappointed we didn't go further and make the finals, but really looking forward to the next season.
Yeah, for sure. Thank you so much for sharing, mate. That's awesome. So I was just taking some notes there, just some things to touch on, if you don't mind sharing. Going right back to where you said the coach within the opportunity who didn't see you as the player that you are, for example, and that transitioning point where everything went from that 0 to 1,000. What was it like in that moment, that transition before everything started happening, and then when everything exploded? Like, how did you feel as that young player?
As the young player, when I got the setbacks, or when it started going well?
Before it started going really well, so the transition period.
Yeah, so the setbacks, I guess every year, it was always around the same time. You'd go to the trials, and then you'd get a letter saying whether you made it or not. And it was 3 years in a row didn't get in. So I think I went into my room and cried, I reckon. And that was pretty heartbreaking. I guess you think you're good enough, and I'm sure every kid that trials thinks they're good enough, and then you don't get picked. And then seeing some of your other teammates get picked from my club team that I knew I was a better player than, was probably the most frustrating part about it. But I guess I just tried to not let that affect me. And looking back on it now, as a kid, I just always had this dream of being a professional player, and my goal was always to play for Arsenal. Time will tell if I can do that. Yeah.
That's huge.
So so that was something for me. I loved football. I still do love football. I love watching it, love playing it. And I think that's something that probably helped me out massively. Was probably watching football a lot, is how I reckon I learned a lot of the technique and everything, because I didn't do a lot of training. Because I didn't know any better. I trained twice a week with my club team, like I said, at Adelaide City. but it was someone's dad that didn't have a massive footballing background. He was doing the best that he could, and we were a really good team because we had some good players. But I didn't learn, I guess, what the kids over in Europe or what the kids now are learning at junior ages. So I think a lot of it was from watching football and seeing how those players played, and then obviously practicing in the backyard on my own.
Yeah.
Which is something that, yeah, I think definitely helps.
Because
And yeah,
our demographic, our clients are, that younger generation, and unfortunately, at the best of times, they're kids that have been rejected, and they're going for these trials, and everything you've just explained is a very real position for these kids in that semi-professional, sub-elite environment, trying to make it to that next stage. So if you had any words of wisdom to help those people, it'd be huge for them. And something you said there as well. So a key ingredient, something that we find very important for our athletes, is to watch more football. You have to watch, different games, different formats. And for us, that's how we try and encourage kids to learn, because often at NPL level, semi-pro level, the coaches, and no disrespect, but it's somebody's dad, or it's a parent, or it's an ex-player, and the world of knowledge, the contact hours, what they're being taught, it just isn't enough to help them. So you've got to watch more football. Absolutely.
yeah, I think that's a massive part of it. You learn through watching, and probably half the time when you're watching a game, you don't even realize what you're picking up. And now it's great, with social media and YouTube, and they've got all these clips and stuff like that you can find. I think it's probably also important not to just watch, skill videos, because when you go onto a field, I think, you've got maybe one or two players that are, a Ronaldo or a Messi type of thing. Everyone else is just doing the basics really well. And of course, it's great if you've got that in your locker to do a step over or whatever type of trick it is. It's great to master the ball. But I think also watching a player's first touch, how they pass the ball, how they shoot, how they position themselves to receive the ball, all of those things, which actually make a footballer, and they're more important.
That's gold
I think
right
that's
there.
something that, yeah, I think that's something that the kids need to do a lot more of. And that's something I remember seeing when I went to an academy in Melbourne, and these kids were doing some tricks around cones, and I was like, that's like the speed they were doing it and what they were doing was unbelievable. And then the next drill was to do it and then make a pass, and they couldn't make the pass.
Pass
So
percentage.
I didn't,
Absolutely.
yeah. So I didn't really understand the point in being able to do the trick if then you can't make the pass, or you couldn't take a good first touch, because in a game, if you you take three players on and miss the pass, or when you're receiving the ball, you can't take a good first touch, it's kind of all a little bit irrelevant if you can do the trick or not, because you're never going to get the opportunity to do it. So yeah, it's not saying
Absolutely.
don't do it, and it's practice the basic things first, which are the boring things. If you can master them, then the rest of the stuff, that's the next stage.
Well, we say basics are the necessities. I mean, if you can't play basic football, control the ball, pass the ball, you may as well, not be playing. And something we battle with a lot is these skills coaches and these academies and these new coaching companies, and we call it for the gram. So everyone's doing all of these technical, tactical little stepovers and stuff, and it looks fantastic. But what's the correlation to on the pitch? We play on a big pitch. If you're beating the same player three times, is it effective? If you beat a player and can't pass, everything you've just said, is it effective? Are you going to make it? There's this huge, interesting area, to put it politely, of what we're seeing in this youth development sector. So, yeah, fantastic. That's awesome. Talk to me about, so you said you're injured. You're out for, was it a season that you're out for, or?
Yeah, pretty much a whole season. I played the first couple games, I was playing with the injury, and then yeah, just couldn't perform and couldn't do what I wanted. So then took some time off, and then just it didn't get better. So I had osteitis pubis, and yeah, so an edema on the pubic bone, on the right pubic bone, and it was something that over pre-season I just gradually felt get worse and worse. And I'd never had groin injuries before, so it was probably a strange thing to happen at 22. Not sure why all of a sudden it did come up. But yeah, just gradually got worse and worse and didn't have the power, couldn't pass properly, couldn't shoot. And then it got to the point where, yeah, I couldn't probably run over 60%, and playing the games was, I guess, a bit pointless when you can't perform at your best. And it was a struggle. Just I guess the anti-inflams and everything that I was on was good to to numb it a little bit, but still wasn't making me be able to train and play. So at my close to my best, so there was no point. And then took some time off, and yeah, literally took until I think I stopped in October, late October, early November, and then had a few months off, and it wasn't better. And then I went and got surgery down in Melbourne and did my rehab there with a guy called Tim Schleiger, who I've worked with since I was about 16 years old, and got my body back into a really good position. And then here I am now, I guess about a year later, and feeling really good. Haven't had any problems with the groins, and yeah, frustrating to be injured, but that's part of football.
Well, it absolutely is, and there's not many people that get through a season, let alone their career without some form of injury. It's a contact sport. There's overload. Bodies do break down. We're human, but the key importance is to stay on top of your body. Obviously, do all the right things, work with the right types of coaches. Everything you've just explained. So yeah, awesome. Well, not awesome that you're injured and had osteoarthritis, but awesome that you're back on track. So, in regards to when you went overseas, it was second tier football in Holland, wasn't it? That was the big clubs.
No, they were in the first. They were in the first division,
Okay.
and when I was there, they got relegated.
Okay, sorry, yeah,
Yeah.
awesome. Can you share some insight around that? What it was like moving abroad, because a lot of our clients, the parents and the children, don't want to make it as top tier footballers and move overseas. So I think that'd be cool.
Yeah. So, yeah, it was a really exciting time for me. Like I'd said, obviously at the start, and been doing really well at Adelaide. Got the move to Holland and had a couple of options where to go, and I just felt myself and my agent felt like that was the best move, to move to a league where it wasn't too big, and there was going to be a chance of playing. With some of the other teams, you go there and you're just a number. So I think it was the right move, and a country that I'd spoke to a few different players that I'd played with, who were from there, and everything sounded really good. The agent that I was working with, that I'm still working with, flew over there and spoke to the coach and the football director there, and they were all really positive about me. And then when I got there, kind of all just came crashing down a little bit with just the expectation of the way they were going to play, what the coach was like. And the coach could talk really well, but didn't actually know how to implement the game style or the training sessions. And I think that was really probably a tough thing for me. And I played the opening game and got taken off at halftime, me and another player, and then didn't play under that coach again for the next 30 games until he got sacked. And then I played the last few off the bench.
Yeah, wow.
So it was a really tough time, I guess, emotionally and mentally, just to be on such a high and then go there and all of a sudden, you feel, I guess, probably there were some days where, you don't want to go to training. You have this thing that you've loved for such a long time, and this is your dream. And all of a sudden it's turned into a nightmare. And looking back now, I could have dealt with things a lot differently. I don't think I ever threw in the towel, but I also feel like I should have stopped looking, at the coach for, I guess, reasons why I wasn't playing, and just taken, some more accountability, even though he was a pretty crazy coach. And, some of the reasons why I weren't playing is, he said you need to sprint quicker and be quicker. And, it's physically impossible really to
Did
get
they
quicker,
teach you
like he was
how?
saying.
So it's like,
No, so
tell yourself
yeah,
you need
yeah,
this, but I'm not going to show you how to do it.
yeah, exactly. So it was it's a strange thing, and it was just one of those ones where, it was a good learning experience, and something that, if I do get the chance to go back overseas, I'll definitely be more equipped for it. But that's what you get when you go over there. I think, you will probably get some good level coaching here, and everything's, I guess, easier here in Australia than when you go over there. You are just another number. And
It's a
I
harsh
was the
reality,
foreign
isn't it?
player. yeah, from Australia, and I guess I was the easy one to take out at the start, and then yeah, it kind of just went spiraled down from there, and yeah, it's disappointing because I do believe that I'm good enough to play at that level. And then with them getting relegated, I just didn't think it was worthwhile to stay in the second division in Holland when the A League is probably superior to that. But yeah, that's part of football, isn't it? You know, you have your ups and downs, and coaches obviously like the same in my junior days. Some liked me, some didn't, and you can't obviously listen to what they think of you, because if you do that, then you know you're never going to make it, because there's always going to be someone that doesn't think you're good enough.
That's huge. So anybody that re-listens to this, I think what you've just said there is massive. Don't ever take no for an answer. You know, perseverance, believe in yourself, do all of the right things, because it seems to be very hit and miss with coaches and agents and all of this stuff. And, you know, speaking from our background with the kids that go overseas, and some kids are looked at and seem to be, you know, who they are, but some kids are looked at and just told you're not good enough. So it's a mixed review.
Yes, yeah, of course.
Awesome. Going into this lockdown, so when the league kicked, we'll just fast forward a bit now. Thank you for sharing. Going back into finishing off the season with Adelaide, and you know, the whole transition, you guys had to move to Sydney and do, you know, like camp lockdowns, and I saw some of your vlogs. Can you walk us through what that was like? Because that's extremely weird for a season. What was happening there?
Yeah, so I guess I'll go a step back and go into when we first finished or went into, I guess, lockdown here in Australia. So we obviously went into lockdown in everywhere in Australia. What was that? I think March, maybe March. And our season obviously got postponed, and no player kind of knew what was happening. The first week or so were pretty tough. You know, as everyone in Victoria is probably facing now, to have that purpose and to still have that drive to, you know, want to get up and do your best and things like that with whatever it is was really tough. And we had no clarity for quite a while. And then after a bit, I decided to go up to Brisbane, where my girlfriend still was. And we still had no clarity. So it was pretty much down to yourselves. And we got given some programs to do from the clubs, but because they'd stood us down and we weren't getting paid, you didn't have to do the programs. They technically couldn't enforce it, so it was really down to yourself and how much work you wanted to put in, or how little work you wanted to put in. And that was probably a 10-week period where you had to train on your own, and it was something that I guess you can relate now to the semi-professional, the NPL players or the junior players who are doing that anyway, where they train a couple nights a week, but then the rest of the time they're training on their own, or they've got to do their own sessions. And that was something you have to do, you know, whether you're Cristiano Ronaldo or myself or an NPL player. If you want to make it, you have to always train and have that drive yourself. And that's something that you know, I was always thinking I didn't like doing the sessions because, you know, they're painful. And it's not a fun feeling when you feel sick. But, you know, you always knew what you were doing it for, and having that why is a massive reason for getting yourself up and actually doing the sessions. And that was something that I actually thoroughly enjoyed by the end of it, was training on my own. And you know, I still had a goal, and my goal was to be as fit as possible when the A League resumed. And you know, I think I did that. I got through the games really well, considering we had 3 weeks as a team to train for those games. And yeah, now then we went into the lockdown of the hotels, I guess you could say, which was again another strange thing as a footballer. You know, we've been on trips with the Aussie teams where you're in a hotel for 4 weeks, but you can obviously go out, go to a cafe, you have a day off, you go play bowling or whatever it is, go to the shopping mall. Where this was a really tough thing, where we literally, you know, we're in the hotel, couldn't even obviously cook our own food, couldn't serve ourselves. All the hotel staff had to serve it for us, which was just another thing of I guess, a control thing that's, you know, frustrating as a player. You want to choose what exactly the amount you want, and small things like that just get quite annoying after 4 weeks of doing it. Then you'd go to training, come back. Yeah, exactly. And you know, that was something that was just tough. You know, you're in this bubble, and it's a lot of negativity, and we try to obviously get it out, but you know, there's players that are going to complain, and there's situations that probably deserve to be complained about as well. but yeah, that was tough. But again, we knew why we were there, and that was to make it to the finals. And unfortunately, we didn't. I think we played really well, and we were undefeated through that 5 game period. We played the top six, I guess, essentially. And just disappointing. We obviously struggled a little bit earlier on in the season, but yeah, it was okay. Every player knew why they were there, like I said, and we tried to stay together and just get through it. And now here we are in isolation.
Good. What comes next for you, Stefan? So you're in. How long do you have off in this little break period, and what are you doing to I guess, take the next steps? What comes next for you?
Yeah, so again, we don't know what's happening. I think that's the A League at the moment is up in the air. There's talks of when the season's going to start, and they plan for December, but I think they're looking to push that back now because of obviously what's happened in Melbourne. So if the season gets pushed back, we don't know how long we'll have off, and there's just a whole lot of uncertainty within the A League, and that, I guess, again, as a player, creates a lot of anxiety. But for me, I'm probably not going to train ridiculously hard like I did before in lockdown, but at the same time, I think we'll probably get 6 weeks off. Now probably 2 weeks isolation, 4 weeks off. But I enjoy keeping fit, and for my mental state, I feel a lot better when I'm exercising. And then I know, you stop training for a week or two, and it takes probably double that time to get the fitness levels back. So I don't see the need in stopping training everything. Maybe I won't do as much running. I'll just focus more on some do as much strength work, and maybe some bike and ropes and cardio stuff like that, just to keep fit. Also for the mind, is always good to push yourself, and I think that's important to always be doing that, because yeah, even though we've got these couple of weeks in isolation and then maybe 4 weeks off, you don't want to lose that fitness level.
Don't abandon too much.
And
You're a true professional.
yeah, yeah, exactly. So
absolutely. Very good. So yeah, once again, thanks heaps for spending time jumping on this call with me. I know we've got a lot of clients who will be thrilled to be able to listen to this and watch some of this back. So I really appreciate your time.
no worries. Happy to jump on and chat. And it looks like the facility and the programs you've got there are pretty good. So any kid should really be thankful that I guess they're happy to, or lucky to work with you.
I appreciate that.
No worries. That's no issues at all with me. I think it's good. Yeah, it's good for kids and people to hear this stuff, because yeah, for me it's the same. If I see some stories of someone in Europe that was playing in Division 4 in France, and then all of a sudden they're in the Premier League 3 years later, it's inspiring. So hopefully it can do the same for kids here and that are playing NPL, or that have been knocked back and can go on to play in the A League and further one day.
Is there anything, I'll just give you one more power question. Is there anything that you would have told yourself back before all this began, or anything that you could share, like a little snippet for our audience, tips or recommendations or don't do's, something powerful like
that? Yeah, so I think the way I try and live now is to, I guess, have complete accountability. So no matter what a coach says, what a teammate says, what a pundit says, anyone, I'd focus on worrying about myself. And if I don't score a goal, then it's on me. If I don't get picked in a team, then it's on me. Regardless of the situation, you can always, I guess, blame other people. But by doing that, you're just harming yourself. And I think if you're always looking for ways to improve and get better and have that mindset and that attitude, you're always going to reach your true potential. And that's something that I want to do, and who knows how high that is. I guess I'm the one that's deciding that, and I think by having this mindset, I can control whatever happens for me, and then I can look back and know that I did everything I could to reach the highest level, and be happy and walk away knowing that I gave it my best.
Fantastic. Awesome. All right. Thank you so much. I'll let you go. Enjoy your day, and I'll send you across a program. Let me know what you think of it.
Yeah. No worries. Cheers.
Good on you. Thanks for your time.
No worries. Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.